So this is part 3 of our series of training videos on routine cardiopulmonary bypass on the fly. And we're at a point now we've gone over all the things in most of the categories in the instructor screen, and the other parameters are on the learner screen. And we're coming to the point now where we want to go on bypass. So to do that, I guess the first step would be, and generally, patients in the room, chest is open, say you want to get a pre-bypass ACT. So we've got that loaded as 120 and 130. So we could have the learner run that after they decide that we need to have one, and we start the ACT here, or they can set it over here. Now while that's coming up to baseline, we can pull up our oxygenator controls, which is where we're going to control the sweep. And we can also pull up a blood gas for them. And they can pull, actually they can pull it up down here. So they're going to say blood gas, they want the blood gas to come up. And they'll take a look at it. Remember, we're still in scenario mode, so you're dictating those directly for the learner. And those are normally the things you would get just prior to bypass. So the ACT looks good. Then you'll maybe have the surgeon or somebody who's playing the surgeon ask for the heparin. There'll be communication based on that, and they'll give the heparin. And then you'll wait however long your protocol says to wait to get an ACT, and you'll draw an ACT. Now in this case, what you want to do is you want to hit reset before you put the other values in. So we're going to make this a routine case, so nothing crazy is going to be happening, and let's just make this 530. Now either you or the learner can hit the start ACT. We're going to let the learner do that right now. And it's going to go pretty fast. And we're waiting for that to come up. Now since we don't have any blood gas values up here right now, we can go ahead and put this in calculate mode, so we're all ready to go once it gets up to where our ACT needs to be. And let's go ahead and put some gas on. Most people put some sort of a gas on. And most of us usually don't start out at 50, but if you do, that's okay. But you can turn that up. And you do that by making this yellow and then using this rheostat down here to adjust for the F502. And the ACT is good for bypass. So we're going to go ahead and go on bypass. You can see to the left here, we're going to have an independent control of the pump flow and the reservoir volume. So since we don't have two mouse controls, we're going to have to do this sort of independently. So let's go ahead and bring the flow up a little bit, empty the patient out. We can try to do this as balanced as possible. And we want to bring it up to, say, an index of about 2.4. And we want to empty out the heart. So you can see it's 2 and 0. And you notice once the CVP gets to 0, your cardiac output goes to 0. And once we had the pump flow on, notice that the blood gas monitor came on, and it's now tracking these values. And you've got your pH, PCO2, PO2, temperature, bicarb, hematocrit, and VO2, potassium, beta-O2, and the flow. So at this point, if you're stable, a surgeon will probably tell you either to cool, either to drift, or to bring it down to a certain temperature. Let's just say we're going to bring it down to a temperature of, say, 34. So here's our heater cooler. We're going to be cooling. We want to turn it on, and we're going to turn this down to 34. And what you'll notice is the value over here, the arterial temperature will drop first, and then the bladder temperature, the core temperature we're using today. Come back over here to the blood gases. I'm going to manage that just a little bit differently. Let's see. Let's leave it right there for now because we're cooling, right? And this value then should come down, which it does. So let's go down to the cardioplegia. We've got it in warm. We want it cold. We want to turn it on, and then we want to actually bring this down to, say, a low value, whether you want 10 or 5 or 3. And that's running too. facility and looks, fairly decent. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm looking at the hematocrit. Now we started off with a hematocrit of 36. We went on bypass. Not very likely it's going to be 36. So you may want to come in and change this to another value that is more realistic. So let's just say it's 28. You can do that ahead of time as well. As long as there's no blood gas showing up, the learner will not see it until they go on bypass. One other thing I want to address over here under the reservoir volume, we've got the gas calculate delay. And what this does is it slows down. You see all the numbers jumping around on our monitors. This slows that rate of change down a little bit, so you don't see as many numbers jumping around as much. It smooths it out a little bit. It doesn't make it go faster or slower. This is the oxygenator shunt, which will make the oxygenator more or less efficient. So if we increase the shunt, we're going to increase the efficiency of the oxygenator. You probably should see that go up. Let's go up to 40 and see how that goes. And you notice your PO2 drops, PCO2 goes up. Usually leave it around 20. It seems to work fairly well that way, but that's something you can select on your own. Okay, so we're cooling. We're at 34. So let's go ahead and arrest the heart. So now we're in the cardioplegia mode. And what we have here is this is the controller for cardioplegia. Normally when we're in Calipia Live, you'll get the reading, but it'll be from the heart-lung machine that they're using. The cardioplegia delivery mode will be antegrade or retrograde. We're going to go to antegrade. The rate of change, that's how fast the EKG will go from sinus rhythm down to a rest. We're going to increase that, so it's going to happen faster. And so we're ready to go for cardioplegia. So the surgeon may say pump flow down, clamp on, so the instructor comes over to the cross clamp and hits cross clamp on, and then the flow back up. And we can bring it probably a little bit less than 2.4 index. Blood pressure is still good. And we're going to run some cardioplegia. Now the rate of change in this EKG will be based on this flow factor and how fast you run the cardioplegia. So 350 a minute, pretty fast. Now as we're waiting for that EKG to change, you notice on the learner monitor it is changing. When we go back to cardiovascular parameters, you can see it started at 1, it's working its way down. Let's see if we can force it into one of these up here. It doesn't, it won't stay in there. And the reason why is that you've got an antegrade or retrograde mode. And what you have to remember is that if the lever is in either of these two positions, the cardioplegia category or module controls the EKG. So say for example you want it to show activity. I'll turn the cardioplegia module off, go back to up here, and I can go back and make those changes. It'll stay there. Go back to antegrade. Even though the cardioplegia was still running, it's changing. You can go back up into the cardiovascular parameters and you can see it's progressing back up to 10. So cardioplegia is in. We're going to go back and ask the learner to turn it off. The blood gases look pretty good. No changes here. You can, on this monitor, the screenshot of the CDI, you can have temperature correct or not temperature corrected. So this is at the temperature. There it goes. And 37. So let's we're going to give another dose of cardioplegia. Let's give some retrograde. And when we click it over, the lever over here to retro, we're going to see that the CPB is going to be reading coronary sinus pressure. And this resistance is going to take your flow and calculate a coronary sinus pressure based on this number, your resistance, and the flow up here. So 16 usually works pretty well. and we're going to give cryoplegia. Let's see how it kind of comes up. I think you could probably get maybe 250 a minute, depending if you want to go to 40 or 50. So say for example you wanted to create some sort of activity. We could turn this off. This will be off. Go back up to cardiovascular parameters. You can click one of these values down here, and or maybe up here somewhere, and say we're getting some activity. Then you'll ask, the learner will tell you that. You'll say, well, we're going to give some retrograde. You click over here, and they turn on the retrograde, and now the EKG is controlled by the cardioplasia module. And it's going to slowly progress back up to 10. But you can change all these parameters. You can change your hematocrit, potassium, etc. That's the end of part 3 in our routine cardiopulmonary bypass training video.